In the heart of the iron-walled kingdom of Droswyn lived King Malrik, a man feared more than loved. His crown was heavy not with gold, but with thorns of his own cruelty. He taxed his people until their fields grew barren. He demanded songs from minstrels, yet punished them if a single note displeased him. He built gallows in the town square not for justice, but to remind his subjects that his word alone was law. Malrik had not always been this way. In his youth, he had dreamed of greatness, of ruling a land where his name would be sung for centuries. But over time, ambition hardened into greed, and greed fermented into cruelty. The more power he seized, the more he feared losing it, and so he squeezed the kingdom tighter. At the edge of the capital stood an old woman named Arindra, who was said to be a weaver of both cloth and fate. Few dared to speak with her, for Malrik despised her wisdom and had forbidden her from the court. Yet in hushed tones, villagers said she alone might hold the key to ending the king's reign of cruelty. One bitter winter night, Malrik ordered his soldiers to seize every harp in the kingdom. "Music," he snarled, "belongs to me. Let no tune be played unless I command it." The people wept, for their festivals turned silent, their hearths cold without song. But there was one harp the soldiers could not find. It was said to be hidden in the hills, crafted from silver wood and strung with threads of moonlight, a harp that could not be silenced. Legends claimed it would only sing for one whose heart sought not power but truth. Arindra, hearing of the king's decree, whispered to the people, "The silent harp must be found, or our voices will die forever." And so the tale of the harp spread in secret, carried in coded lullabies and carved symbols on doorposts. When word of the harp reached King Malrik, he grew furious. "If such a harp exists, it shall be mine," he bellowed. He sent battalions into the hills, but they returned empty-handed, some trembling as though they had heard music no man should hear. At last, Malrik resolved to seek the harp himself. Armed with sword and crown, he climbed into the mist-shrouded hills. Days passed, his retinue dwindled, until only he remained. Hunger gnawed at him, but his rage kept him walking. Then, on the seventh night, he heard it, a faint strain of music, delicate as frost on glass. Following the sound, he came upon a glade lit by moonlight. There stood the harp, tall and gleaming, its strings humming though no hand touched them. It rested upon a stone pedestal, roots of silver wood entwined around its base. Malrik approached greedily, his crown glinting. "At last, you will play only for me," he hissed. He reached out to pluck a string, but the harp fell silent. He struck harder, yanking at the strings until his hands bled, yet no sound came. Roaring, he raised his sword and slashed, but the blade shattered as though it were glass. Then the harp spoke, its voice clear and calm. "I sing not for cruelty. I sing not for greed. Only truth shall waken me." Malrik spat. "Truth is whatever I command it to be." The harp's strings quivered. "Then you shall hear only silence." Enraged, the king tore at the harp with his bare hands, but a storm rose in the glade. The wind howled like voices long silenced, the ground shook, and Malrik was hurled backward. His crown rolled into the shadows, lost among the roots. When he woke, dawn had broken. The harp was gone, as though it had never been. He staggered back to Droswyn, but something had changed. His voice no longer carried power. Where once his words made courtiers tremble, now they glanced at one another with doubt. Where once soldiers obeyed instantly, now they hesitated. The people began to whisper. Without the harp's silence binding them, their courage grew. Farmers refused his taxes, minstrels played secret songs of defiance, and children sang in the streets. The king shouted, but his decrees rang hollow. Desperate, Malrik sought Arindra, dragging her before his throne. "You are behind this," he accused. "Bring me the harp, or I will have your head." Arindra met his glare without fear. "The harp lies not in the hills now, but in the hearts of your people. Every act of kindness, every song of truth, is its music. You cannot silence it, for you cannot command their hearts." For the first time, Malrik faltered. He looked out over the city and saw torches moving, not in fear but in unity. The people were gathering, voices rising in song. No gallows, no soldiers could drown it. The cruel king raged, yet deep inside, a sliver of fear gave way to something unfamiliar: shame. He had built his throne on silence, but now the world around him rang with defiance, with life. Some say Malrik fled into the mountains, seeking again the harp he could not command. Others say the people cast him down, and his crown was melted into plowshares. But all agree that from that day forward, the kingdom of Droswyn bloomed with music, and no king again dared to silence the songs of his people. And so the story became a lesson whispered to rulers and children alike, that cruelty may build a throne, but only truth and kindness can keep it. For a harp that sings only for truth will always rise again, no matter how deep it is buried.